Welcome back to another episode of Torqued. So it's another cold day here in Indiana, but we've got an exhaust to put on our Chevelle. So let's head out to the barn and get to work. All right, we got our new exhaust system in. It's a pipe system. It's 3-inch. It's got the crossover pipe. It's all 409 stainless. It's a pretty decent pipe. I actually got the Turbo Pro, which is a little bit quieter than their other mufflers. It comes with all the clamps, but of course I'm not going to use these clamps. I just never liked these clamps because they're always hard to get apart. So I'm going to try and weld in these V-band clamp, these adapters. It comes with a V-band. This is also made by Pypes. So hopefully that turns out pretty nice. I've already seen that we're going to run into some issues. Since it's 3-inch exhaust, we got to cross over, go up and over the axle. Well, it's so tight because of the coilovers that I'm going to probably have to section these. I may have to cut this down here and then maybe put in a clamp there as well to give me a little bit of adjustability. And then in the back, I have these cutouts that I made into the bumper. So the exhaust is going to have to come down, up and over, and then I have a tip that's that I got. Of course, back then I didn't think I was going to go with such a high horsepower motor. So these are 2.5s. I'm going to have to modify them a little bit, expand them a little bit, and then weld them in. So this is going to be kind of challenging. I'm expecting this is going to take me about 2 weeks to complete. We also have to do a down pipe that's coming off our mid-length headers. It's going to have to go into the system as well. They're at different angles, so this one is more straight down. So just stand by. We'll kind of give you a little progress report here and there, and we'll see how it turns out. We've been working on the Pypes exhaust for a little over a week, 2 weekends, the full week, and it has been a pain. It truly has been an undertaking. I didn't think that the exhaust would have to be modified this much, but of course we've made so many changes to this 69 Chevelle that yes, it had to be. So I've shown you before, we did bring down this from the mid-length header. That went right over to a couple of extensions that went right into our X pipe. You can see that. We do have our O2 sensor. This one is for the Holley EFI. And then I also have the other extension coming down, and this is another O2 sensor, which is for one of our instruments that we have. I want to have a fuel gauge, a fuel ratio gauge on that. So the X pipe. This was fairly easy to do. We did try and get it up as high as we can on the drive shaft. It dropped down a hair even after having it clamped and tacked in several areas. It seemed to drop down a little bit. And let's go to the back. All right, working our way to the back. This is what was truly a nightmare. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try and shine a light up there. We had to make several adjustments. You can see up there I had to cut and re-weld, add some to these hoops that go over the rear end itself. Had to do that on both sides. I have like 8 or 9 cuts on these hoops, just trying to get them to adjust. The reason why it's so far off is just because of this. You can see how close the coilovers are. I still have probably about 3/8 of an inch. I'm damn near on the tank, but I did put some of that heat insulation on the top of the tank, and plus the exhaust shouldn't be too warm back here. So of course it's going tight, and then it of course had to go up inside of this cavity to run to the back. This is a little isolator that I got from Summit. They're pretty cheap. They're like $13. I do have some brackets that will bolt into the side and will keep the tips, which we've got the tips installed. We've got a bring them up just a little bit, but they turned out pretty good. And you can see the same on this side as well, really close to the, you can see how close that is. And it's almost right on the tank on this side as well. So I know next time when we do the Buick, I think I'll be vendoring this out. I'll find somebody that does custom exhaust, because I don't want to do this again. So it did come out pretty well. I hope it doesn't hang out down too low, especially with this X pipe. But I think it's going to turn out pretty good. I just wanted to mention as a side note, when we clamped and tacked this, like I said before, tacked it everywhere with the clamps installed. We took off this whole center section, but of course we've got the V-band clamps here, and then just about going over the axles. So I've got those dropped out this whole section. While it was out, I went ahead and TIG welded all the way around, you know, removed off each clamp one at a time and did that. And doing so, like I said, it barely dropped down, and it's almost like this whole center section of exhaust shrunk down. And that's what caused the problems up here, why I had to increase the distance or add some tubing going over the rear end. So just to be aware, when you guys do this and you put on your own exhaust, be careful about that. It did take us quite a bit of time to modify that. All right, we're going to attempt to put the dash in. All right, we got the dash all installed. It's all wired. Let's look at it with the dash lights on. The switches are all wired up, but most of them are running off of accessory bus, so they're not going to power on except for the one, which is just for a USB. Let's take a look at the exhaust now that it's back on the ground. Well, it's actually on my rollers, but you can see that it's tucked up really good. You can barely see the exhaust where the X pipe is. It's tucked up pretty good. It's about an inch or less away from the drive shaft. Let's take a look at the exhaust tips and how they turned out. They turned out pretty good, especially with those extra hangers that I got from Summit. I was able to locate those and center them up where I wanted them. So I'm really happy with the results. So I hope you guys like this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you on another episode of Torqued.